2025 is a year of saving for me. If you didn't already know that, you might have missed this video, which is part 1 to this video. If you missed it, go check it out. And if you missed it, you might not be subscribed. So go ahead, take a second and hit that subscribe button for me. This always happens to me when I make a video. I will finish the video, look back at it and go, oh, why didn't I include X, Y, and Z tip that also fits under the theme of the video that I posted. This video is no different. I immediately thought of so many different things that I didn't include in that video after I made that one. So we're making a part 2 here. And then there are some more tips that I came up with the first few weeks of doing my low buy, no buy, low spend year, whatever you want to call it, that I thought I would include in this video. So without further ado, let's get into the other things I'm doing in 2025 to save money. Okay, first and foremost, I am about to gush a little bit about a specific company, but this video is not sponsored. They don't know anything about me making this video. I'm just gonna tell you about my high yield savings account because if you don't already have one, you, in my opinion, are literally leaving money on the table. When our money sits in banks, they literally use that money to invest in things and they make money on that money sitting in those banks, which is also why you should remove your money from big banks because they use our money to invest in really problematic things, okay? When our money sits in those accounts, they're making money off of it, but they're not giving any of it back to us. With a high yield savings account, some of that money that they're making comes back to you, which is why I keep as much money that when I'm saving money, for instance, when we were saving to buy our home for our down payment, I used a high yield savings account. When I was saving money to buy the solar panels that we put on our home, I kept that money in my high yield savings account because I was earning money on that money while I was saving up for the thing, instead of just letting it sit in a bank and let them profit and not share any of that with me. So if we're talking about saving money, it makes a lot of sense to keep that money that you're saving in a high yield savings account. So I've gotten every one of my family in on a high yield savings account, some of my friends too. And what's really cool about that is the way that Wealthfront is specifically the high yield savings account that I use. Their introductory little thing that they do is like, I get a 0.5% boost and so do you if you use my invite link. I think you get it for 3 months, which is not anything to scoff at, especially if you are actively saving money. There's absolutely no reason not to be using a high yield savings account, even if you don't go with my recommendation, which again, I will vouch, I've been using them for years. Regardless, do your own research, find your own high yield savings account. If you are trying to save money, it is a no-brainer. It is absolutely something you should be doing. Hopefully you're not doing it with a big bank because they invest in really awful things and we want to remove our money from that. So as someone who is a former recovering, still has a lot of shopaholic tendencies, I am mostly saving money this year on essentials, right? So I'm doing what's called a no buy in several different categories of non-essentials. If you didn't see that video, I'll link it up here, what my no buy rules are. Because of that, the things I'm saving money on are more so essentials or things that are more like needs, which obviously food is a huge part of that. So here are a few ways that I have been saving money recently on food. When I was home for the holidays, my mom was complaining to me about how the grocery stores don't put out sales papers anymore. I guess they used to send out physical sales ads, and my mom allegedly followed these sales. I feel like what my mom actually does is has literally 6 different fridges and freezers and just keep them stocked with what's on sale, and she never goes through that stock, but I digress. Anyway, she was telling me how frustrated she was that those sales papers weren't coming to her physically. So we were trying to figure out how to access them digitally because everything is through an app these days. And I started looking through my grocery store's sales ads and I realized I should be doing this. I guess because no one really ever taught me or walked me through where to find these sales ads. I wasn't usually doing this. If I saw something that I already was buying was on sale at the grocery store, I was like, oh, that's great. But now that I realize I can actually plan some of my week, not all of my week, but some of my meals with ads first, and I don't have the added issue of having 6 fridges and freezers to stuff, I have to go through the things that I'm buying. So I'm planning a lot of my meals around what's on sale for that week. Here in Texas, our Superior grocery store, HEB, has this thing, I think it's called a 5 Loco deal, where you buy one thing and then you get 5 things for free. It doesn't always work out because of the way I eat. We eat plant-based, so it doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. And basing what we need to buy around what's in our pantry, which if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. We inventoried our entire fridge and pantry. But after we do that and see that basing what we're buying on sales is like a no-brainer, but for some reason, no one ever taught me. And so I wasn't doing it before. Now I am. So that's a way of saving money. Still sticking with the theme of food, there are a few different ways that I acquire groceries. several ways, actually. I use Imperfect foods, I use Thrive Market. Over the years, I've seen a huge savings in those because they calculate your savings for you, which is really helpful. They also calculate how much waste you've saved by using those other services. Let me know if I'm the only person that gets overstimulated by the grocery store. Like, I do. But not only that, I will end up picking up things because I'm seeing them and they look good. And God forbid you go to the grocery store when you have not just eaten and you might be hungry. Ordering my groceries curbside saves me anxiety, saves me time, saves me the headache. It also saves me money because I'm not going through and impulse buying things. I struggle with impulse control in general, and just being able to order my groceries for pickup has been amazing, especially since the service is free at the grocery store that I shop at. Also, when it comes to food, is how quickly some foods go bad. And in my head for a long time, it was like produce just goes bad so fast, so I have to stay on top of it and make sure I'm eating it or composting it or freezing it or all of those things. But what finally came to my realization the other day was that actually I could just prioritize other forms of produce that don't go bad so fast. So berries last for like 48 hours, right? Is that just me? And I've tried all of the hacks of how to store them so that they don't go bad so quickly, but they just do. Why not switch to a fruit that I also like, but that doesn't go bad so quickly? Especially because it's citrus season, okay? Citrus is cheap and my favorite fruit is a grapefruit. So I'm currently buying less berries and buying more apples and citrus because they don't go bad as fast. Same thing with cucumbers. They go bad incredibly quickly. It's so frustrating. Switching to something like a carrot is cheaper and it's going to go bad a lot less quickly. So I'm not stressed trying to get through things before they go bad. So yeah, prioritizing produce that doesn't go bad as quickly, what's in season, and freezing when appropriate. Once you start calculating it, you realize it saves a lot of money. Also, I talked recently about how I got my garden beds finally up and running. I'm very excited about that. If you missed it, I linked it up there in the videos. But I will be growing things specifically that do go bad fast, especially when you're buying organic. Things go bad so quickly. So greens will be a priority for me growing them this year. Herbs as well, things that like if you buy from the store, you have to go through so quickly. I'm prioritizing those in my garden, and I do live in Texas, so greens, the season for growing them is kind of right now, and it's a little bit short, but while I can do it, I'm doing it, and I'm so excited about it. Okay, these next two are a little bit connected, so let me walk you through it. Scrolling less. And that means on every app, and for me, especially Pinterest. I find that when I'm like outdoors on the weekends and doing things, or I am in my home and I'm doing my crafts, or I'm with my friends and my family and I'm just being active in ways that are not scrolling, I have absolutely no desire to buy anything. But as soon as I'm bored in my home and I'm not filling my time consciously, or I don't have plans, or I'm not going outside, I just want to chill, I will default to scrolling, oftentimes on Pinterest, because I do like to be inspired. But that often leads me on this hour-long hunt of finding the perfect sweater vest on Depop. And I just don't need to be doing that. It leads me to spending money when I am spending my time scrolling. I need to be scrolling less. So actually, I talked about this in my last video, but we are having Monday meetings, my partner and I, to sit down and go through things that just like need to be gone through, right? It's like an admin day. Specifically, we're going through our spending for the last week. That's the reason we set up the Monday meetings. But we add things like this to it. So we both decided we need to be scrolling less, but we need to be conscious about what we're filling that time with. So we sit down on our Monday meeting, we make a list of things that we could be doing instead of scrolling that week or just in general, so that we have basically a menu to pick things from. And that has been so helpful. Sometimes you just want to turn your brain off and you want to scroll, and I get it, but at the same time, if it's causing me stress, anxiety, shortening my attention span, making me spend more money, I need to do it less. And I feel like you can probably agree with that. I would love to know your experience with like just being on social media, but yeah, that's for me. And the way I say these two are related is that I'm trying to romanticize making things in my kitchen. So sometimes I get overwhelmed by trying to prepare everything all at once, or even like bigger projects that are more involved making a meal, I get a little bit overwhelmed. So I'm trying to, with my scrolling less, some of the things I want to romanticize, prioritize, spend my active time doing are prepping things in the kitchen that otherwise I would be buying that would be more expensive if I'm buying them. Specifically, these are things like seitan. It's so easy to make, and honestly, better when you make it. Bread, I want to attempt to do the whole bread thing. I didn't do it before because again, it seemed overwhelming, but I obviously have the time to be doing these things. Like I tell my brain it's overwhelming overwhelming to put the time, energy, and effort into researching and doing all of these things. But if I'm just doing that instead of scrolling, I think it's gonna make it less overwhelming. At least that's the goal. Making my own broth from my friends' scraps and stuff like that has been really great. So it's saving me money. It's giving me something to do with my time. And I'm trying to embrace that and romanticize it rather than looking at it as a chore. I'm looking at it as like empowering myself with skills and the ability to do things that otherwise I might not. I've avoided doing a lot of different things, I think, over the years because of my anxiety, and I'm trying to shift my mindset around it and like making it the fun thing I'm doing this year to save money and facing my anxiety around some of those things. And spending a lot of time in the kitchen is definitely one of those things. But I'm using my little low spend, no spend challenge as a reason to trick my brain into thinking that it's fun. This next one proves that you need to also do like a weekly check-in, admin check-in with your partner. That's not just like you randomly bring it up on a Wednesday and someone is busy or distracted or frustrated that you stopped whatever they were doing. Like, I think the weekly check-ins are really good. And this is another one of the things that we did during that weekly check-in that I'm bringing to you now. It's unsubscribing from mailing lists, okay? It's unfollowing people on social media who make you think you need to buy stuff. It's going through your junk mail and telling them to stop sending you junk mail. Less ads you see, the less money you will be enticed to spend. It just makes sense. But it is unfortunate that we have to like make a very conscious effort to unsubscribe and remove ourselves from those things. But taking the time to do that will definitely save me money. I don't know about you. If I get one more ad from Michael's, okay, telling me what's on sale, I will be tempted to go. I don't need to be doing that. And speaking of removing yourself from seeing ads, I just want to give my annual shout out to YouTube Premium. I love you. Shout out. If I could pay $5 a month to any of the social media platforms to stop seeing ads, I would do it in a heartbeat. YouTube Premium is the only like streaming media paid service I do pay for on a monthly basis, and I have no regrets. It makes me so happy not to see ads. I forget what it's like to experience being on YouTube and seeing ads because I watch a lot of YouTube. And a lot of times when I talk about this, people say, oh, just get a blocker, to which I say is kind of really rude as a creator to be able to consume someone's content that they created for you for free and then also be like,
but you don't deserve to be paid for your labor. Actually, you don't get to be paid.
On this channel, we support fair wages. We support people getting paid for their labor. And so if you're watching something someone put together for free, I think the least you could do is not block the way that those people earn an income, but you can get rid of the ads with a pretty small fee per month. But I do see a lot less ads for it, and like that's the priority in my life, is seeing as few ads as possible. So shout out to YouTube Premium. But speaking of subscriptions, you should check and see which ones you have, okay? There are apps that you can connect your bank account to and it'll tell you what subscriptions you're paying for. But you can also, if you have an iPhone, go into your settings, click your profile and go to subscriptions and see how many like $1 here, $3 there, $5 there apps you're paying for either monthly. There are some that I found that were weekly. What I did at our last Monday meeting is like I had one app that was coming out weekly that I use for editing videos, but it was showing up on my statement and I didn't know what it was. So I looked up how to find out what it was. And when I went into that section of my phone, it wasn't just that app that I was signed up for reoccurring money coming out of my account. It was several, and some of which I haven't opened in so long. So I canceled absolutely every single one of them other than the one that I use on like a weekly basis to edit videos. And I decided, what's the worst that could happen if I do need to restart my subscription for any of those things that were there? I can, but I'm obviously not using them consistently. So highly recommend doing that. Or I know there are apps and like websites that you can use that will check for you and check things that are not just subscribed through the like app store on your phone. I know that seems like common sense, but I've also seen people on TikTok, people will go up to people on the street and be like, how many subscriptions do you think you have? And people think like Hulu, Netflix. And so they're like, oh, I have 2. And then they go into their bank account and they have like 33 or something ridiculous. Please check how many subscriptions you're paying for. Okay, hear me out. I often feel like talking about these little energy efficiency things to do that will like save you money feel silly and like everybody already knows and everyone who cares is doing it. But then I walk into some of my friends' houses and I have to take off like 4 layers because it's hot. We live in Texas. It's been chilly lately. So people are keeping it not warm, y'all, hot in their houses. I love the wintertime because we keep our thermostat significantly lower than other people's. I would love to know what you keep yours on in the winter. We do live in Texas, so we keep ours on 59, mainly because of the plants. If I made it colder than that in here, I fear they would revolt. I fear they would all just die. Some of them are not looking so hot, but they're okay. And we put on layers and we save a lot of money. Now, again, I feel like this is something that people know and people talk about, but like genuinely put on some layers, save some electricity, save some greenhouse gases, save some money. And it's like a great tip for living more sustainably, a great tip for running your equipment less. That's what my partner always says. Like the less we can run our equipment, the less we have to replace it. And that's like a huge expense. It's also better for the planet, which if you didn't already know, this channel mainly focuses on that. A lot of times those things intersect because consuming less is a lot better for your wallet, but it's also a lot better for the planet. And changing your thermostat is a really good example of that. So if you didn't already know that, hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications so that you don't miss my next video. And we might just have a part 3 for this. So leave your tips on how to save money in the comments. And remember, until next time, you cannot do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do. Bye, guys.